Christian Times presents World Christian News.
Pope Francis to visit Thailand, Japan in November. Pope Francis will travel to Thailand and Japan in November for a visit expected to highlight his call for complete nuclear disarmament and honor the small Catholic communities in each country. The Vatican confirmed the November 1926 trip, and its diplomatic representative in Thailand, Archbishop Paul Chang-Inam, announced the Thai stop on Friday. Francis will be in Thailand on November 20th to 23rd before heading to Japan, where government spokesman Yoshihide Suga said the Pope would meet with the Emperor and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. It will be Francis' fourth trip to Asia, where he has already visited South Korea, Sri Lanka, Philippines, Myanmar and Bangladesh. During his official visit to Thailand, Francis will preside at religious ceremonies and make pastoral visits to Catholic communities. Having the Pope in Nagasaki will also highlight the legacy of Christian missionaries dating back to the samurai era, including 26 martyrs killed in 1597. It will help honor the so-called hidden Christians who kept the faith alive during decades of persecution. Japan, whose main religions are Buddhism and Shintoism, has about 441,000 Catholics, many in Nagasaki, comprising fewer than 1% of the overall population. Thailand, with an overall population of 69 million people, has some 388,000 Catholics. CNB News reports. Massachusetts bishop says action is urgently needed on climate change. The Bishop of Massachusetts warned in a new pastoral letter that Catholic change has reached a crisis level and requires decisive action. They encourage the faithful to reflect on this credited beauty as a gift from God. To protect and sustain this gift, we must act now within our faith institutions and throughout the state to take substantial, meaningful steps to protect our environmental and provide relief from the impact of toxic pollution and climate change, to protect the health and safety of all citizens, particularly the most vulnerable in our society, they said. The bishops also noted that the world food security is at risk due to changes in climate, according to the United Nations, which estimates that there may be as little as 12 years to significantly cut global emissions in order to limit the rising temperature of the earth and prevent more catastrophic consequences. Massachusetts bishops pointed to Pope Francis' encyclical Laudato Si on care for our common home as a model to follow in working to fight climate change. In that encyclical, Pope Francis warns of increasing global temperatures and rising sea levels, saying, quote, "Humanity is called to recognize the need for changes in lifestyle, production and consumption in order to combat this warming, or at least the human causes which produce or aggravate it," unquote. Man jailed for threatening little sisters of the poor, set for bail hearing. A Pennsylvania man who sent online threats to the little sisters of the poor is asking a federal court to allow him out of jail. Jan Kouros Jr., 55, will present his bail request in court. Kouros was indicted by the federal grand jury in July on 2 counts of sending threatening messages online via his computer to the little sisters of the poor, LehighValleyLive.com reported. According to the indictment, Kouros sent a threat to injure another, specifically persons affiliated with the Little Sisters of the Poor, on February 1st, 2017 and again on May 9th, 2017 from Amos, Pennsylvania in Washington, D.C. It is unclear from the July indictment what specific content was contained in the threats Kouros sent to the Little Sisters of the Poor in 2017, as well as his motive for doing so. The Little Sisters of the Poor congregation was founded in France in 1839 by Saint Jean-Jouin and entered the United States in 1869. The congregation is dedicated to living with and caring for the elderly poor and serves in more than 30 countries around the world. If this is not hatred against the faith and against religion, what else can it be? Says Eritrean bishops. 7 religious schools in Eritrea 4 of them sponsored by the Catholic Church have been seized by the country's government this month. Catholic bishops in the country say the move was motivated by hatred against faith. The 7 schools seized by the government include 3 run by Protestant and Muslim groups, according to Comboni Catholic missionaries serving in the area. The schools have been nationalized and will reportedly now be run by the country's education ministry. Eritrean government has also seized church-run health facilities. The actions that have been taken against our educational and health institutions are contrary to the rights and to legitimate freedom of the church, the bishops wrote in their September 4th letter. The bishops also suggested that the government raise to them any objections to the way in which Catholic schools and hospitals are administered. Eritrea is one-party state whose human rights record has frequently been deplored. It is believed that the seizures are retaliatory after the church in April called for reforms to reduce immigration. The bishops are also called for national reconciliation. Human projects always fail, but the Holy Spirit sustains the church. The Pope said, because of sinfulness, human projects will always fail, but the church remains steadfast even in times of scandal, because she is sustained by the Holy Spirit, Pope Francis said on Wednesday. Let us think of the history of Christians, including the history of the church, with so many sins, with so many scandals, with so many bad things in these 2 millennia, and why did it not collapse? Because God is there, the Pope said on September 18th. We are sinners, so often we even give scandal, but God is with us, he added. But the Lord always saves. Strength is God with us. In contrast, human projects always fail, Pope Francis noted, pointing to the many political projects of history, including the empires and dictatorships of the last century. They felt very powerful. They thought they dominated the world, but then they all collapsed, he stated. Even today, think of today's empires, they will collapse if God is not with us, because the strength that men have in themselves is not lasting. Only the strength of God endures.